the issue of fake qualifications held by public figures is scandalous and has brought many to the end of their public careers. Now, the President has given the green light to an investigation into the degrees of Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane. But Mabuyane is challenging the move in court. Let's talk some more with a legal expert, Mpumelelo Zikalala, who joins us virtually from Durban. Mpumelelo, thank you so much for your time. We've seen these kinds of stories of people in the public eye whose honorary certificates or doctorates or whatever it may be being called into question. Indeed, the institutions that have where they've obtained these qualifications as well. But this is the first one that I remember actually now where the person in question is pushing back and is heading to court. Now, Mabuyane has on an urgent basis approached the Eastern Cape High Court to declare unlawful an instruction by the President authorizing this investigation into allegations about how he obtained his qualification at the University of Fort Hare. What do you read into the Premier's decision to go this route?
Good morning to you and also to your viewers. Now, we must distinguish between the two. Maybe let's make two analysis. The first one, if you go to court on an urgent basis, you are basically saying to the court, I have a right that I need to protect. I'm going to suffer irreparable harm if you don't issue an order today or during these proceedings. I don't have any alternative remedies in order to be heard. Hence why I want to short-circuit the process, jump the queue, and be heard on an urgent basis. Now, the court will then sit back and then say, okay, let's look at the harm that you may suffer, whether it's irreparable or not. In this case, the harm that you may suffer will be branded to someone who's received fake qualification at a later stage that can be resolved. Other through damages claim, your name can be absorbed and in fact will be accorded those qualifications in which ought to be accorded to you. But most importantly, there is an alternative remedy in this case. There is our courts that you can go to set either the report aside or whatever investigations which are then taking place. So we do not need to put this matter on an urgent basis. But another thing which is going to be looked at by the court is the balance of probabilities, and saying that if we go to court, are the odds in your favor? Is the court going to find it in your favor or not? But in this case, you have to take a step back and then look at what is being attacked by the Premier. Firstly, saying, Mr. President, you don't have the power to do so. However, if we look at the SIU and Special Tribunals Act, I think is Section 22G, if I'm not mistaken. It does say, Mr. President, you have the power to institute or to say to the SIU or investigate matters which are of public interest and matters that have to do with public institution. Yes, the university is a public institution. This matter is that of a public interest. There are prospective students which are looking to go into that university, and they need to be secure that the qualifications that they're going to get there and the processes which are being followed are indeed above or beyond reproach. Same applies to previous alumni in terms of saying that I now hold a qualification from that university. I need to be rest assured that whatever qualification which was afforded to me was not obtained in any dubious means. So it is a matter of public interest. It is a matter in which the President will then say, I have a keen interest in making sure that I'm able to investigate this matter. Nonetheless, any type of fraud or maladministration that takes place is against the law. The SIU as a law enforcement agency does have power to investigate those matters. So I don't think on that leg the Premier is going to pass. However, he may pass on the leg of saying that on a procedural and substantive basis, there are certain flaws that have taken place. For example, I wasn't given an opportunity to then respond to these allegations. I would have given you a perfect explanation as to why my name appears there. And in fact, I no longer received, or there's no qualification that I had received from there. I did register a long time ago, so I don't see how my name is impacted on this. Or come back and say, on a substantive basis, any reasonable person evaluating this evidence which is in front of you at the moment would have seen that my name ought to have not appeared in this report. So remove my name from there, because as a Premier, there's some type of reputation increase of which I'm going to suffer, let alone my political battles on the side.
I'm interested that you spend quite a bit of time focusing on the part where the Premier's legal team is trying to prove that the President made an error of law by failing to understand the ambit of his powers and his discretion under the SIU Act. And do you believe here, even though you believe that he really doesn't have a legal leg to stand on in terms of that he's using this opportunity to imply that there's a politicization of the President using his powers and the use of the discretion and his use and discretion of the SIU Act?
Well, one could come to the conclusion in terms of saying, but Mr. President, you before you signed on the dotted line, you would have been briefed and would have said or praised yourself as to what powers do you have in order to investigate this type of matters. Obviously, the SIU Act was created with the type of preventive measures in mind of saying that the president must not start his own investigations. Let's limit the powers into matters of public interest. Let's limit the powers into matters of public entities or those entities that deal with public funds or that are sponsored mainly by government in terms of the way in which they do their things. So on that basis, he may come back and say, on that basis, you are actually extending your powers. If you interpret it on a wider meaning, yes, you can win, but I want the narrower one that says, I would have understood if it was mainly to deal with whether monies of the universities are being handled in an appropriate manner. But in this case, we are dealing with something which is qualifications. It's not really your forte, Mr. President, since you are not supposed to be there. Of course, I do come back to my initial point of saying that the president does have powers to do it. We're dealing with the public, with the reputation of a public institution, where prospective and also alumni have a vested interest in it. And certainly the president is also going to have interest in that particular interest. So if you make that allegation of ulterior motives, I think it's going to be a very steep mountain to climb, because you then need to find with plausible evidence, which we are going to put in that affidavits that seem to suggest such.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. Legal expert Mpumelelo Zikalala joining us virtually there from Durban.